the end of the chapter, it looks at the old Soviet Union, which is now Russia, USSR, and environmental problems dealing with pollution. In the old USSR, you can see, used to encompass all of these countries, including Russia. So the USSR was a huge exporter of pollution to neighboring and distant countries. And because of their deteriorated environment, people in these republics have poor health and a life expectancy 3 to 6 years below the average for Europe. And after 42 years of the communist rule by the USSR, the country struggled with economic change to a free market economy. And it recognized that environmental recovery directly relates to economic improvement. The years of neglecting environmental regulation, not considered a high priority, have brought on this predicament, and some of the problems are common to other Central and Eastern European countries, and they are severe air pollution including sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, particulate matters, and acid rain. Water pollution including agricultural runoff of soil nitrates, pesticides, and industrial contaminants. Can you give me an example of a pesticide that we've seen so far? It's an endocrine disruptor. DDT. Industrial contaminants by toxic organic and metals, heavy metals. Also untreated or poorly treated wastewater discharges of biological oxygen demand, BODs, which we'll talk about later in pollution, nutrients and total suspended solids, TSS, and solid hazardous waste, an unknown number of sites containing metals, organics, and radioactive contaminants. And some of those pollutants that decrease life expectancies are PCBs, or polychlorinated bisphenols, which can be in breast milk, passed from mother to child. Excessive chronic illness among children during atmospheric inversion, which we'll talk about here in a second. Lead in children's blood. Metals extensively contaminate food crops, and chlorinated hydrophobic organics pollute pork, beef, and other poultry items. So take a look down here. This is where inversion occurs. Here you have your normal pattern, is where you have exhaust or some type of output of something. It could be, we talk about an air pollutant, possibly sulfur dioxide. Normally goes upward and affects this area. Now with an inversion, you don't have the cold air, you have warm inversion layer, which causes the smoke to divert, and then it spreads to other areas. So it's not only just affecting the area where that output is, but it also spreads to other areas and affecting places that do not have the factory and are trying to keep a clean area. And this goes along with tragedy of the commons, because the atmosphere is the commons. We all share the atmosphere. There are no borders on it, and preventing one country from doing things a certain way is very difficult. And if they're putting these pollutants out, we all have to deal with that, because the air travels all over the globe. So much of the pollutants stem from a policy that subsidized the price of energy, water, and agricultural chemicals. Industries failed to invest in pollution control or prevention. They either did not enforce environmental regulation, or in some cases found it was cheaper to pay the fines than to fix the problem. And these the USSR countries in there. You got a couple diagrams here. Subsidized. We're going to hear that quite often, and that's where the government will use tax dollars to bring down the price of products. So corn is subsidized, meaning, say corn normally costs $1 to plant a stalk and produce that corn off that stalk. Well, the government will give those farmers 40%, or they will give them 40 cents per stalk of corn, making the price of corn now what? 60 cents. So subsidizing it is bringing down the price of the corn, so it's cheaper for the farmers to produce, then it's cheaper for the people to buy it at the grocery store, which then makes it cheaper for us to purchase it at the grocery store. So subsidizing has to do with bringing down the price, and you're going to hear that quite often. And I got this nice diagram showing environmental science. You always look at things as a household, and you extrapolate that or make it larger and think of it as a bigger scale. And then you look at a community, city and urban, national and global. So act locally, think globally. That's it for Chapter 3.